Okay,
Live.
as if we are live. We are live on LinkedIn. Um, Hello, good afternoon, and welcome. I'm really excited that people are joining in and watching these conversations that I'm having with the marketers that inspire me. So thank you if you are joining us live this lunchtime. We can't actually see who's live during this session, so we're just having a chat like we would often do. But I'm really excited about today's session because this is about an award-winning campaign for comms heroes, is exactly what it says on the tin. And it's also something that I've been involved with almost from the beginning, I think, for events. You'll share that in a
Yeah.
second, as if, but you've developed this into a community of over 10,000 followers on Twitter. So Asif Choudry, a fellow CIM fellow and member, thank you for agreeing to do this live with me today.
No, you're welcome. So I've watched from afar, and it's nice to actually be involved at this end now. And I can't sit back and relax and just watch on this one. I've got to get involved. So I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
You have. So we actually met via LinkedIn. I think you remember the date was 2014.
14 when Comms Hero
14.
started. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd posted a blog article on LinkedIn, ironically about how the importance of face-to-face communications and not to let social media get in the way of that. And you replied to that blog. I think you tweeted me in reply to the blog and invited me to just deliver that as a session at your first events.
Absolutely. It's networking, digital networking at its finest, really, because we weren't connected before that, and
We weren't.
content that resonates with you, you check out the individual and you make your connection from there. And in this case, it was a great content for a speaker opportunity that was going to add value to the event itself. Yeah, so it was back 6 years ago now.
Wow, 6 years. So tell us more about Comms Hero and how it started and where it's got to.
Well, it started in 2014, as we've just mentioned there, and I'd been going to various events and paying extortionate amounts of money for these events, and they were always usually in London, and specifically for comms, which were all good, and I got some value out of all the events in terms of networking and some of the content. But what I wanted to, I just asked myself the question: does it have to be like this? Does everything have to be so London centric? And having to travel from Leeds, it was either a super early start or night before hotels, and it becomes quite expensive for anyone attending and getting value out of the time. So I'd asked a few of my kind of close circle of business contacts, if we put something like this on at this price point, would you be interested? And one of the key things that we got back was people said yes, the value for money was there, location, people welcomed the fact that they were going to get access to good content but not necessarily have to travel too far. And price point was definitely a key, with a lot of people who back in 2014 reducing budgets was something they were fighting with, so they couldn't continue to send people. So instead, they were able to send their entire team or the majority of their team for the price of one person's ticket at some of the other events. So it was certainly something that had to happen. And just as importantly, I thought the kind of learning format, does it have to be so kind of rigid and stale? Can't we inject some fun? Because comms and marketing people work in a creative environment. So could we actually have a creative environment where the work that they do every day can actually be delivered in that kind of space? So capes and masks at the ready, and it just kind of happened really. So May 2014 was the first event.
Bristol? Was Bristol the first one, or just the first one?
No, Manchester was the first one at Bridgewater Hall, but we followed with Wrexham in June and then Bristol and London in October. So we did 4 in the first year. And as a one-off experiment, when I was planning the first event, I got a request for the Wrexham event, and I didn't really know what Comms Hero was at that time, but through Twitter, people had kind of gathered what was happening and knew something was going on, but not exactly what at that stage. I've just seen Claire Knight's joined in, so hi Claire.
Hi Claire. Hi, Claire. She said she was going to join us, so she's been following it as well. Because actually, we'll talk about this later. The amazing thing about Comms Hero is that you have created this whole FOMO, fear of missing out, around everything you do. That if people aren't actually at the event, they want to be at the event. And as much as some people, if you talk to them about it and go, "Yeah, we wear capes and we wear masks," and you kind of think, really? Actually, everyone just gets so absorbed into this. You've had opera singing as well, and
Yes,
you
I
know,
have,
your
yeah.
own Comms Hero song, and everyone just gets completely stuck into this comms world, as you said, is like a real celebration of the work that you do. It's not competitive in any way. It's just this day of interacting and learning, for your audience, which I think is what's so great about this
Yeah.
campaign, is that it's not about promoting what you do as a day job. It is about creating something that your audience of customers needed and wanted, and you've kind of just facilitated that, really.
Yeah, it was it's that genuine, because I desire for the people that I work with and have worked for in terms of that comms community. A lot of the customers, I think they needed something where they're all very creative people. They were and they still are now, but the events that they were attending were not really giving them the opportunity to demonstrate any of that creativity, or showcase some of that creativity even. So we wanted to create an environment where the content was still valuable for people. The key thing for every speaker, when I spoke to each individual speaker before they accepted, and just made sure they were the right type of speaker and they were going to pitch it at the right level. And one of the key things we always said was that you've got to try and give people 2 or 3 key takeaways that they can use tomorrow. Not that they were going to have to spend a year researching. They need to be able to pick stuff up and use it tomorrow. Otherwise, the event just sits on a shelf. The memories of it do, like every other event. So that was a real key element. And we had things. There's been a number of phrases for Comms Hero about, leave your comfort zone at the door and do not collect on your way out. Because to be honest with you, people do enter into that spirit, unleash their inner Comms Hero, because there is one in all of us. But you have to have a safe space or an environment that allows you to do that without thinking, this is a bit silly or whatever it might be. So it seemed to, and at the first event, I was amazed at how relaxed everybody was, and that's continued all the way through to our last event last year as well. So hi to Elliot, who took 6 minutes to find videos. Don't tell my boss. So and Matthew Parker as well. Hi, Matthew. Good to see you again.
Yeah, so this is a new feature in StreamYard to actually be able to see comments as you're going, so that's quite useful. So it's been going for 6 years.
6 years now, yeah.
6 years. And when we had a chat about this chat, I asked you about whether it was a plan that you'd written, because I'm a big advocate for planning, and you said you hadn't written this as a plan. It was an idea.
Not at all. It was genuinely just an idea. And back in 2014, in March, when I'd spoken to those 10 or so close circle of people, and they said, "Yeah, you should do it." I said, "Right, we'll do it." So we got a date, and 13th of May 2014. So I had 8 weeks. So the business that I represent, Resource, I've spent years helping other people to deliver their own marketing campaigns and come up with brands and logos and identities and so on and so forth, and deliver a comms product. But now the biggest challenge was, could we do this in 8 weeks? So it was a good test for us as a business as well, because we had to come up with a brand, a logo as it was at the time. What does Comms Hero stand for? And then promote it purely through social media only, and some conversations over the phone or face to face. So we didn't produce any collateral or anything like that to start with, and then obviously get speakers and get content mapped out, and then get people to book to attend. So there wasn't really a plan. It was meant to be a one-off experiment. But like I said before, whilst I was shaping the first event, I got a request from somebody, Edwina O'Hart, who was kind of chair of the CIPR network in Wales at the time, and they had a regional meeting, and she said, "Will you bring Comms Hero?" And I said, "Well, of course, once I know what it actually is." And then we ended up doing 4 events in the first year, which was hard work, but it was enjoyable at the same time. But the brand just kind of gathered momentum, and 6 years on, we're still here. So there's still no
Which,
plan. We just keep going.
yeah. So I do advocate plans, but sometimes if it's a good
Yeah,
idea based on lots of experience and
yeah,
knowing your audience and talking to people, it just developed. And I think actually maybe this is an example of engaging your audience in making something live and breathe,
yeah,
which is exactly what's happened on Twitter,
yeah.
which as a social media platform is usually the one that I find people struggle with, not
Yeah.
quite sure how to use. Yet you focused on Twitter and you've got over 10,000 followers that, beside these real life events, Comms Hero is active every single day on
Yes.
Twitter.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how have you built such a community on a platform that not everyone is comfortable with?
Yeah. I think it takes time
Yeah.
and consistency, and I think because there was no plan. Year one, we must have 2,500 followers. The plan is kind of, we're thinking about it all the time, every day,
Yeah.
basically, and we just move with demand and we move with the content and what's kind of hot topic now, or hot topics, and that's why
Yeah.
each year's theme has changed. So the engagement on social without Twitter, certainly it would not have grown to what it is now. It couldn't have continued. We couldn't have promoted it to the extent that we have.
Yeah.
And actually building your following, connecting with people, but not just because we don't schedule any posts at all. I think that's the
Yeah.
real key. And anyone who does tag in hashtag ComZero or at ComZero, I can guarantee they will get a reply. And
Yeah.
sometimes it'll be instant. It's not because we're
Yeah.
sat there in front of our phones with waiting for the phone to
Yeah.
buzz, but we've always kind of prided ourselves that prompt response. As a consumer myself,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want that prompt response, especially on social. That's why people go to social, because they want instant answers if they can, especially when
Yeah.
it's to a customer complaint. So we don't treat engagement any different. And what people have started to do now is we've got people who will put hashtag ComZero in their biogs or tag us in when they want us to promote a job. And we never
Yeah.
started out with that in mind. We just wanted to build a community, and it's now where people do feel there's a support network. And
Yeah.
now it's morphed into ComZero Exercise Club, where mental and physical health benefits of exercise. So, and we've got people who will tag ComZero in for a number of reasons, but primarily we wanted to create that place where people celebrate I'm going to use the word heroics, because 6 years ago, that's the word I use, heroics, that comms people
Yeah.
perform every day, with reducing budgets, not enough people in the team, ridiculous deadlines, and people coming into them and saying, in our Comms Hero merch range, which is due to launch, people saying, coming in with a brief, can you just pretty it up? Can you put it on the homepage? Can you put it on the Twitter and things like that? So yeah, you've got to converse, you've got to engage. That's the real key. You can't just post stuff out, and unless you're Justin Bieber, you can do what you want and you're going to get millions of hits and likes and all the rest of it. But ComZero isn't that.
Well, one, I wasn't expecting Bieber to be mentioned in any of my LinkedIn lives, so thank you for that. I think you're right, because I know sometimes, like, if my phone buzzes and I've been mentioned in a Comms Hero post, I'm like, this is going to go on for at least the next hour, and get involved in a really positive way. But I think it's because of that responsiveness that's almost made people want to get involved. And your swag, which I'm sorry, I couldn't find my t-shirt to wear, otherwise I would have had it on. But you do t-shirts, you do notebooks, you do biscuits and traditional direct mail, to the point where I remember, and I'm going to dig this out later, that I took one of your campaigns, which was a knitted cactus in a pot. I took it to California just so I could take a picture of it and tag you in and go, look, I'm here with this stuff. And it wasn't forced, it wasn't a chore, it was just, part of being that world and wanting to be engaged with it as well. And for me, what I observed from it, and again, it's probably a fear of people using Twitter, is that everything in your community, from the posts, from the exercise, what people are eating for dinner will even be posted. It's all so positive all the time as well.
Yeah, I think that's where people support. Yeah, we've received lots of DMs, certainly during lockdown, even more so, where people have just said thanks for supporting, thanks for engaging, and that's been really nice, because, to be honest, it is hard work to keep something like this going, and it requires a lot of commitment, and it's part of the day job now. So I think that's the real key behind that, is that I mentioned, you can't be in it for the short term unless it's just a one-off experiment. ComZero is a campaign in itself, but it keeps running because we keep speaking to people, and that's then just manifested itself into the ComZero merch store, and like you say, people do remember that, and they love receiving that physical element of, resources, a print business, a design, print and mail business, and we combine that, but there's no pressure on anybody to say, oh, if we send them some ComZero swag, we don't ring them the next day and say, oh, would you like to buy some print? And that is a very intentional and clear direction for making ComZero. It's not a sales platform for resource. It's not a sales platform for anybody else for that matter. And that's why at the events, we don't have any exhibition halls. You're not forced to go and see. People don't pay. We don't have any sponsorships. So
you rarely speak yourselves, do you?
No, absolutely. So we don't.
It's all external.
It's about other people in the community, and I think that a great kind of compliment to the reputation of ComZero was last year when we, the speaker lineup included people like Helen Reynolds, Grant Leboff, who's a regular, Helen Langdon, formerly of Innocent, the PR team from Greg's, and also Yorkshire Tea. And so to have people like that who will come to speak at your event, it's a great compliment, and it's very flattering to have them there. But the content that they can give, because Greg's and Yorkshire Tea, have been, and Innocent have been flying for a while now, and the ComZero audience don't necessarily get a chance to hear from them because they don't do a lot of speaker gigs. So they were able to hear from them at last year's event
and share the real stories behind posting on social media, as well as the front facing that we all see. We all want to know the behind the scenes stuff and what it's really like, don't we? Matthew's just asking why you chose Twitter as your main social media channel.
It just happened to be, I've been on Twitter for 10 years. 6 years ago, LinkedIn definitely wasn't as conversational and as it is now. And Twitter was kind of the right place to be it matched with the brand of ComZero, that fun, the personality, but also knowledgeable and community building. At the time, Twitter was just a platform that was successful for me, so it just seemed a natural step, really, Matthew.
And you incorporated it into the events as well, so that's the FOMO starts. But I remember there being tweet challenges as well, wasn't there, about taking someone else's phone and doing a tweet?
Yes,
as well.
So we've done that. I think that whole pre-event, during event, and post-event, because they were the real key things. We wanted to create more of a buzz rather than you just turn up. And post-event, the important thing was the events are just a moment in time. The important thing was that we wanted the community to start networking with each other and stay connected, and the hashtags being a place to just carry that conversation on. So intentionally, we didn't have ComZero 14, 15, 16, 17. It's been the same hashtag all the way through, and that's probably one key thing about any campaign, that everybody dreams up a new hashtag for each one. Just keep the same one. It makes, if you're going to carry the same thing on, basically, there's different content each year and every day, but the conversation, the group, the community remains exactly the same, and it just continues to grow.
So this would have been an amazing marketing plan if it was ever written. But you've written it down, haven't you, for award-winning entries and things in retrospect?
We have.
To reflect on its success.
Last year I presented on the story because it was the 5th anniversary, and I'd not actually taken a step back to look at how what we'd achieved over that time, and how the brand itself has evolved in its look. How it makes people feel stays exactly the same, but how it's evolved from being superhero, because we had the word hero, to becoming more of a serious marketing brand now, basically a community of marketers. That's the key thing for me.
Okay, so we are coming up to 20 minutes, and I like that as a closing piece of inspiration, that it's about how it makes people feel. So I think the key for anyone that's watching this live or on record is to go and look at this campaign on Twitter. We'll put the links in there. But just as a final step, Asif, what's next? What's coming up? What can we expect apart from some amazing swag?
Yeah, well, the swag merch store will go live in July, so I'm hoping, Claire, it will be 1st of July, but if not, it won't be that after. And we did have an in-person event scheduled 10th of June, which we had to move for obvious reasons, but we're going to do a virtual event that's hopefully going to be over 3 days, sometime middle of August. So I'm just speaking to people. So we've got a really good lineup already in the bank for that. So so watch out on Twitter, and I'll be posting on LinkedIn as well. So now LinkedIn allows hashtags. Yeah.
Yes. Well, it's more that people use hashtags on LinkedIn now. Yes. So thank you, a huge thank you to you, Asif. Thank you for those of us that have watched it live and added some comments. We will keep an eye on the post for the rest of the day in case there's other people adding comments watching it afterwards. I'm going to be back again for another live next week. Next week, I'm speaking to Sarah Briers from Target PR. We're going to be talking about how comms has shifted during COVID, so picking up on some of today perhaps, but also how important purpose is in your comms and your messaging. So this and all the other previous recordings of lives are on my YouTube channel. I will put links in my post and post on social media. But thanks again, Asif, and thank you to everyone watching.
Welcome. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.